Hi, my name is Miss Morales, and we're going to be talking about pictographs today. So, what's a pictograph? A pictograph is a way to represent data collected by using symbols or pictures, just like this. If we're going to talk about someone's favorite superhero, let's say for instance, okay, our title on our graph is going to be superheroes or favorite superhero. Okay, and we have Batman. We can put Superman. We have Spider-Man. And Wonder Woman. Now I have my categories and my title, but I also need a symbol. Okay, this is very important, and I also need the value of that symbol. Let's say a symbol is going to be a heart. And each heart is going to represent 10 students or 10 people that voted for that specific superhero. So now I have my title, my categories, my symbol, and the value of that symbol. Okay. Now, if someone tells me that Batman got 30 votes, well, since I know that one heart represents 10 votes and 30, well, I'm going to draw 3 hearts. That will be 10, 20, and 30. Those are my 30 votes for Batman. If they tell me that Superman got 40 votes, then I have 4 hearts because each one of them represents 10 votes. But what happens when they tell me Spider-Man got 15 votes? Well, I know how to represent 10, which is 1 heart, but how would I represent the remaining 5? Well, since 5 is half of 10, I'm going to represent them with only half the heart. Just like that. And if they tell me that Wonder Woman got 25 votes, I'm going to do exactly the same. That's 10 votes, 20 votes, and since I have 5 left, I'm going to add half the heart. Just like that. Now, something that I think is very important for me to be able to understand this pictograph is to write down the number right next to it. That way, it's easier for me to answer questions about my pictograph. Let's say Batman, we said equals to 30. Superman equals 40. Spider-Man, remember, we have 1.5. 1 represents 10, and half is only half of this. So it is 15. Well, Wonder Woman has 25. Now it's a lot easier for me to understand or visualize how many votes each one of these superheroes got. If I was to answer some questions such as who had the most votes out of all this, I can easily answer that just by looking at the pictures, or I can do that by looking at these numbers and picking the highest number. The one with the most votes is Superman with 40 votes. If they ask me what superhero got the least amount of votes, I can also look at the pictures and look for the smallest one. Or I can also look at the value or the total of votes and pick the smallest one. And I'll find out that Spider-Man had the least amount of votes with only 15. If they were to ask me, how many people voted in total? Now, regardless of who they pick as their favorite superhero, I'm gonna add all of them together to come up with the total amount of people that voted for their superhero. So I will just add them all up. 5 plus 5 is 10, 0 and carry 1. 1 plus 3 is 4, plus 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9, plus 2 is 11. So I have a total of 110 votes, regardless of who they picked. I hope this helped when you are trying to understand how to use some information and how to come up with a pictograph. I will erase this and come up with another example. Okay, now we're gonna talk about how many books have you read for the last month, let's say, okay? So we're gonna put books I've read. That's gonna be my title. Okay, and the people that I'm gonna talk about, I'm just gonna make up some names. Let's say Joe, Sarah, let's say Rio, and Sam. Okay, now for my symbol, I'm going to use a book. And each book is going to represent 2 books that I've read. Okay, now what about if they tell me Joe read 8 books? Well, I know that each one of these symbols represents 2 books, and since Joe read 8, well, let's see. I have 2 books, 4 books, 6 books, and 8 books. Okay. Now, if Sarah read only 4 books, well, I'm going to represent it with only 2 because each one of these represents 2 books. If Rio only read 3 books, well, I'm going to use one of my symbols that represents 2. But since he only read 3, I cannot add one complete symbol like this because I only need one more book that he read. So I am going to only draw half of it. Just like that. And if they tell me that Sam read 5 books, well, I have 2 books, 4 books, and just like Rio, I'm going to represent half of it because I only need one more book. just like that. And like I mentioned earlier, it's easier for me, and I would advise this for you too, just to write down the numbers on the side so it's easier for you to understand, because you don't want to get confused with the symbol. Don't think that each symbol always represents one. Every time that you use a pictograph, a symbol can represent different amount of number. You know, it can have a different value. So for you not to get confused, always write it down on the side. It doesn't hurt. It may even just help you. So I know Joe has 2, 4, 6, 8 books. Sarah has 2 and 4. Rio has 2 plus half. Remember, that will be 3. And Sam's has 2, 4 plus half is 5. So now it's a lot easier for me to know the value of each one of this by just looking at the numbers also, not just of the symbols. So based on this pictograph, who read the most amount of books during this time? Well, by looking at the pictures, I can see that Joe read it. But if they tell me how many, I can easily answer 8, because I already transferred this value into numbers. Who read the least amount of books? Rio. Rio only read 3 books. If they ask me how many books were read by Sarah and Rio combined, when I hear the word combined, it means to put together. Only Sarah and Rio. Well, Sarah read 4 and Rio read 3, and I know that 4 plus 3 is 7. If they ask me how many books the boys read all together, together means adding. And they ask me about the boys, so it's Joe, Rio, and Sam. So 8 plus 3, it's 11, plus 5, it's 16. So all boys read only 16 books, while Sarah read 4. If they ask me how many books were read all together means adding all the numbers, okay? 8 plus 4 equals 12, plus 3 equals 15, plus 5 equals 20. So it's a total of 20 books. 20 books total, okay? Hopefully this helped, and if not, just keep looking for more examples. I will try to upload more videos, but I think it's very self-explanatory. The main thing over here is to keep an eye on the value of the symbol. Okay, that way you don't get confused, and hopefully that will make it a little bit easier. Okay, until next time.